All right. Hello and good morning. Good morning. I am Coach K, and this is the Rebirth Experience show. I'm joined today by my hostess with the mostest, my co-hostess, Miss Charlena Anita. If you
Good
see some
morning.
sweat, that they will come and go, honey. These hot flashes are they're kicking. Okay.
I had
Yes.
one this morning, which
Did
is
you?
crazy. Yes, yes. And it was crazy. As you know, I'm on hormone therapy and
Right.
I haven't had a hot flash in like 6, 7 months since I started this therapy. So I don't know what that's about, but I was like, is that a hot flash? I have had them so infrequently that I couldn't even recognize what it was. Like, is that a hot flash? So yeah. So anyway.
Wow. Well, if anyone's listening, a woman, of course, and hasn't had them yet, you'll know. You'll know when it's a
Mhm.
hot flash. You're not sick. You're just suddenly extremely hot. That's the biggest thing. That's when I realized I was having them. You're just extremely hot. And you'll recognize them in other women. Charlita, I went to an RV show a few weeks ago and I was talking to this lady. We were having great chat. Yeah, I thought we were around the same age. And she just broke out into a
And a
sweat. Like
split
I could
rain.
see the sweat beads
Yeah.
all over her face. And
I
I
was
said,
fortunate that never happened, but yeah, yeah,
"Ah,
you
she
see
had the
that, and
sweat." Yeah, I
you'll
think I
see some
said
all of a sudden start doing this.
exactly. And I was like, "Oh," I said, "Are you hot?" She was like, "It's a hot flash." I said, "Girl, I know. I know."
Mhm.
And then when I was at the barber, he was cutting my hair, and then all of a sudden I felt a wonderful cool breeze, and I looked over and he had he had turned his fan on, and I said, "Oh, thank you for that." He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Man, her scalp is really hot." So, yeah, I was hot. Um,
That's
so
cute.
anyway, I'm telling you what. Well, I'm coming to you live from Huntsville, Alabama, on my iPad. Thank God it works wonderfully. And I really wish that I had connected to the hotel Wi-Fi first. But baby, this 5G with Verizon, don't you badmouth my buddy, my boyfriend Verizon, because he be coming through. Okay,
That's right.
this iPad works everywhere, so I'm grateful
Loyal Verizon customer for years,
for
and
years.
years.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Mhm.
It has never failed me. And I had T-Mobile, I had Sprint. I'm sure they've improved, but baby, when you being treated right, you stay where you're at. Okay. We can
Mhm.
tie that to the topic today, but when your treatment is good. So I'm down here, as you know, visiting my daughter with her godmommy, who's here with me in the room and may pop on camera, and we're having a lovely time. We're going to brunch after this, and so I don't know if we can end it at the top of the hour. That'd be great, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to stress it, and I'll just pop and share with you what I'm having this morning. I went to the lobby and grabbed the Starbucks, which I showed you earlier. I'm staying at this. Well, I'm not going to say the name of the hotel because we're live, even though no one is going to find me. But this is the only place I'm staying when I come to Huntsville from now on, period. I booked it on a last minute app because I know my girlfriend, her level of bougie, and I wanted to be assured we'd be comfortable, and it has exceeded my expectations. The location is just fabulous in here. And your girl can go from backpacking in the woods. Like, I'm a rare breed.
Mhm.
I am backpacking again in 2 weeks, and I'm totally looking forward to that. And I can rough it out there and go over 24 hours with just a hot shower, with meaning hot spots, a hot spot shower. But I also love nice things, so I'm loving my time here at this hotel. And I got a green machine from there because we're going to brunch. I didn't want to eat the bread. I really did want it, but I was like, you're going to brunch, Cara, to go with my coffee. And of course, I have my water. So I'm excited for this.
Well, uh, I decided I'm just going to do what I want to do. I'm going to just throw all
Sure.
the norms aside, and I'm going. All I'm going to say is this is mostly tequila.
Damn, Charlita.
I'm going
You're
hard.
going
Okay.
hard. You
Yeah.
know what? I'm gonna join you on that next time because
Who says you can only drink whatever after a certain time? Like,
listen, potty words coming, okay? Because I my don't give a fuck is going to higher levels.
yeah.
Listen, and this is not a hot topics episode, so I'm not even going to explain that, but I'm just reaching a point of no return where I just don't care, and it's coming through some of the negative people that are still in my life. If people are gonna, and this is Wednesday night, y'all. This is my Wednesday night live. I'm getting spicier. Last week was very boring. Like I bored myself. I bored myself. But how to deal when people keep mischaracterizing you? You can only fight it back so much. So I'm gonna unpack all of that. You just have to lean in more to being yourself because no matter what, they're still gonna think what they want. So I'm looking
And
forward to
really,
talking about that.
especially if it doesn't impact you,
Yeah,
if it
but
has
we
no
will get.
impact.
We'll
Anyway,
get bogged down in that. We'll get
yeah.
bogged down in that. So, yeah, and you face that as well because we talked about that a little on the phone. But
Hmm.
listen, believe it or not, that does connect to choosing the right partner because your partner should authentically know you heart to heart all the way. They should be the only ones that their truth is the only truth that should matter.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
So, oh goodness, that's going to be a doozy. And whatever I do on Wednesday, we may have to follow up and chat about that because I feel so much passion around that. But
Oh, sure.
let
Wait.
Oh, so my week was I was off work all week and I learned a
Tell me.
lot. Yeah, I didn't work all week.
I didn't know that. Okay.
No. My son was gone. He was actually with Karen, which is why I got her this fancy hotel room because no one else will tolerate my teenager like her and I want her to have everything her heart desires. But yeah, I got some stuff done around the house, but not as much as I wanted. And my girlfriend Yolanda, she's very good with time management, getting things
Hmm.
done. Even if it's a casual conversation, she wants to have it scheduled, which has driven me crazy, and is part of the reason why she hasn't been on here yet. But I'm starting to realize I'm not going to get where I want to get personally, professionally, or wherever until I start adding more structure to my
Hmm.
life, holding myself to time commitments, spending the proper time planning, etc. And she told me you were trying to do too much in one week anyway. So I should have built in my rest time and different things I wanted to get done. But what I did do differently is not beat myself up on Friday when I didn't get it all done. And
Hmm.
oh my gosh, now you're even more behind. I'm really not behind. I had a great week.
Hmm.
And I had great weather too. I don't know. I know it's hotter where you are, but in Atlanta, it was in the mid 60s all week. We had one day where there was really bad rain and a thunderstorm, but we had mid 60s, which it in the menopause era, baby, that's wonderful. I was able to be outside every day and in my garden because I got my garden done last weekend, and that was a and I know I'm shocked you can't even do containers on by your pool.
Yeah, no, honey, let me tell you, the wildlife game out here is,
But I see people in Florida growing stuff all the time in my groups.
well, I'm not doing it. Maybe they live in a different place, but there's too much wildlife where I am, and oh, that's another thing. Anyway, yeah. So no, I'm not taking that chance. I don't want anything to get inside this screened area. I don't want anything. I don't want to encourage anything to try and get through my screen. I'm not doing that. I'm not taking that chance. Not doing
You
it.
don't see any of your neighbors in your subdivision growing anything?
No, I can't. It's hard to see their yards just because of the distance between the houses. But no, I have
Mm,
been strongly discouraged by multiple people.
mm. Wow. Well, that's unfortunate because if people go to Florida and think that's where you can grow everything, avocados, mangoes, all the things. But
And you can. I'm not going to try it. Not where I live. Not
right.
doing it. And
Yep.
with all of the creatures and things that I've seen so far, I'm just not doing it. It's okay.
Mm.
I've got my other hobby. I have to send you pictures of
Okay.
the table. It was absolutely beautiful, if I have to say so myself. I did a great job.
Okay. I'm glad you took pictures. I need
Mhm.
that inspiration.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do a ladies event at some point, but by June, hopefully.
yeah. So I told you that's my thing now. That's going to be my hobby. Is my
Okay.
tablescaping with my dinners.
Okay, just be
Yeah.
mindful of your limited storage, ma'am, to go and purchase
Yeah,
things for
well,
this
that
house.
means I have to get rid of stuff that I'm not using, and I have to create an organizational system of how I want to store things.
Hmm.
So it's, listen, it challenges me to be a better me. So
Yeah. Well,
I
we're
do.
going to talk. We're going to talk later because I think that maybe we can be accountable to each other for storage because that was the main thing that I let myself down on. We're going to get to the topic today, but I just want to say that
And
I
then you
really
know who I'm married to, so
exactly. Her husband is like ultra neat, super, everything must be immaculate at all times. But what I realized is until you get your storage together, in
it's
my
hard.
opinion,
Right,
you're not really organized. Like you
right.
got that's the foundation of everything. Me getting my garage cleared out and then getting another freezer and fridge like changed my life already. And then I
Mhm.
have my shed, which I made some progress in, but not nearly enough. Once I have my foundation together, everything else in the house is gonna make sense because I it takes me too long now to find anything in that. I just have no. So if the lights went out suddenly, I got one flashlight over here, the candles over there. I don't have a system around where anything is, and it's driving me crazy. But it's
And
also
you've got space.
I that's what I'm telling you. There's no
You
excuse.
have no excuse.
I
I
have space.
excuse, but you have no excuse.
But
What?
my issue is I don't know how to something that was it's going to sound stupid when I say it out loud, but I don't know how to categorize things and
Yeah,
then
it's
choose
just
a
that.
home. So that's the first part. And I have a girlfriend who's coming over at the end of the month who's really good at this. But once I figure out how to categorize things, then I just need to train myself to take everything home every day, take things to their home. But because I don't have the foundational stuff together that I just mentioned, having the storage spaces clear and ready to go, knowing where the categories are, I fall down and just end up laying things out where I know I can see them and find them, which then looks like clutter. So
Mhm.
that sounds like a lot of overthinking, but I choose to believe there are people on the planet like me that have similar struggles. I'm not going to give up though. One day I'm going to have a clean, organized space. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, you just encouraged me. There's several spaces in this house that I need to organize. So we can
Yes,
do that together.
we can do that
This is my
together.
water. I have water as well.
Okay. Now, what's in with the tequila? Charlene drinking tequila.
Already?
Already, yes.
Already?
I'm waiting
See,
until
that's
brunch.
that's see, that's judgmental. I'm moving away from that.
Oh boy.
So it's just I made. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what I did. So we had, of course, our regular buddies. With you went to their house. Pam and Andre came over because they always make a great addition to any get together that we have because they're both very engaging, outgoing, talkative. So they came over, but I actually met with a young lady that I met through work. We had never met in person. We had just connected through meetings that we would have, and she lives in Orlando. And so I said, well, whenever you're in town, my husband and I would love to have you and your husband over for dinner. And they're in their 50s. But she came over and her husband, and they came over at 6:30, didn't leave till 12:30. So we had a great time. But they don't drink liquor. And so I wanted to make batches of strawberry margaritas. So of course I made a batch for those of us who drink, but then I went, and Publix carries this. They have the non-alcoholic spirits. So I bought the tequila one, and I made a batch for them, and it was really good. So I had some leftover pre-made margaritas. So that's what I'm drinking. And then I don't know if you can see this, but what I did yesterday was I froze some, pieces of lime and some strawberries uh, to use as ice since I wasn't going to be able to use a shaker for the individual ones to keep them cold. So that's what I have floating in my glass here. But that's why I'm drinking it. It's really so that I ain't wasting no alcohol. So
She's so fancy.
So
She's
that's what that is.
she's so fancy. Oh my gosh, Karen, say hi to the people since
Hey,
you're basically
Karen.
our third co-host today. Because listen, this topic is spicy. I'm gonna jump into it because with Karen's, it's something that she told me years ago, and I know she's going to be in the peanut gallery with comments because she can't help herself. If there was another chair, she'd be sitting right here. So um but anyway, we're talking about how to choose the right partner. And I want to say one thing before I tell you what Karen said, and that is there I've heard this narrative before where people would say, you got to be the right partner. Like they were trying to make it seem like there is no wrong partner choice, especially speaking to people who were already married. Like you need to stay no matter what is going on. Just be the right partner, as if you being the right partner is going to change the current partner that you have. So before we even go into the rest of this, I just wanted to put that out there and say some of y'all are with the wrong partner. Okay. And
So
it's not our response. I'm not talking to anybody I know or don't know, dead or alive. I'm just saying everything, it doesn't always apply to everybody. And some of you are with the right partner and you're the wrong partner. You need to fix yourself. All of those things can be true, but there are people who it's just not a good partnership. And it's better to be honest about that because your days are numbered. You that's for you to know. So you have a reaction to that before I go on?
yeah. So when you and I were talking earlier, I'd like to title this episode "Stay in Your Lane."
Oh, okay, snap. What? Charlene, okay. I might
Yeah.
have to, I could go back and edit this. I'm gonna go back and
and
edit.
and it doesn't necessarily mean exactly what people think that it means, but I want to just piggyback or comment on what you said. I think that so much of it has to do with being the right person,
Mm,
because I think when you are the right person, when you do the self worth, not only do you come to the table being what your desired person needs, but you have the tools, you have the insight of yourself to not choose the wrong person. So I think that you being who you should be allows you to be that person that you should be and not choose the wrong person. So I think it all comes from inside.
but I think we're both right. I'm speaking for people who are in a partnership
Oh,
already. I'm saying that
well
there's a language
they
that
can't, well listen, I mean we can
we're
talk and
not
they can,
talking about them.
but
I
they
just want
they're stuck.
I, I know, but I just wanted to clarify that because that's what I used to hear a lot is you think you picked the wrong person, you need to be the person. So obviously, yeah, they are stuck, or not really, but in a way, you need to make the best of the situation you're in because again, we're pro marriage. Nobody should get a divorce. I wish I wasn't divorced. I wish
Mhm,
I wish I'd had these skills 20 years ago, and I wish I had done far more work on myself.
mhm. Same.
And that's the issue if you are coming out of something and you want to go into something else, when you don't pause to do that self-reflection, how do you know you're not then you are going to be like looking for another person who's great so that it fixes you, like, you know what I mean? So you have to fix yourself so that you can attract something different, and that's the process that I'm in right now. I will never attract any of the things that I've experienced in the past because I'm a
Mhm.
completely different person now. Not It's not just about, for me, it's not just about choosing someone with some sort of checklist. I don't even want certain people to be attracted to me anymore. Like cheaters, for example. I want you to ghost me. Okay. Ghost me. That's what I'm gonna put on my next online profile if I ever did that again. It's a blessing. Because I've never experienced, no one ever leaves me. And I
Mhm.
realized after giving myself, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I used to be like, oh, no one's ever left me. I've never been left before. That's not a
Yeah,
blessing. They
yeah,
didn't leave me
yeah.
because I was a fool. Why would they have let everything was working for them?
What
Why
did you
would
say? What did your dad say? What was the
my
saying your dad?
daddy said nobody leaves his fool.
Mhm.
Nobody leaves his fool. So, and I promise you, I do feel like that was God. He was like, baby girl, you're patting yourself on the back that you've never been left, but you
Mhm.
tolerate everything. Why would they
Mhm.
leave? So
Mhm.
now I'm like, leave me. Almost about to curse again,
I
which
know.
you heard me right. Leave me, bitch. Okay. Um, but I'm gonna let Charlena really take us into this because she has chosen the right partner. And if I do, my talking is gonna be more about what I've learned about around what not to do, right? But I do feel like you should just kind of share with us a little bit about your perspective on, how did you choose? What do you think about choosing the right or stay in your lane? Let's go back to that.
Mhm.
Sorry, because we'll
So
tie
as
that together.
Yeah, so a lot of times when we talk about staying in your lane, people are assuming that we're saying, okay, you need to have a true assessment of yourself and know what type of person is like more compatible, someone that isn't out of the range of your capabilities. They may be a little too much for you, so you need to, hone it down and find someone that's more on your level. Basically, find somebody that's on your level, whatever that is. And as if basically you need to bring it down and realize maybe your level is lower than what you have been pursuing. And that's true.
Mm.
That can be true. But it can also be just the opposite, where you you need to, in my opinion, I think that it's so important to do self-evaluation while you're single. Do evaluation, uh, truly learn who you are, know what drives you in terms of who and what you've been attracted to in the past, why those relationships did or did not, why they did, obviously say why they did not work, what was your part, really truly like what was driving you. And when I think you're able to do that kind of work and you have a true understanding, you have, healing of past wounds, healing of parental shit, healing of old relationships, uh, coming to understand why you didn't make maybe the best choices, what's driving your choices. I think once you're able to do that kind of work, then you are in a position to choose someone that is in alignment with your healed self. And therefore, you will be in the right lane because you are a much more evolved person and you're seeking a partner based on true compatibility versus being driven by old shit. And so many times we don't know what our old shit is. And our old shit is what's causing us to be attracted to a certain type of person
Mm.
who is not the right person for us. And so when we're willing to do the work, then we will find ourselves attracted to someone who is in alignment with our healed self, our totally healed self.
Mm.
So
And,
that's why I say stay in your lane.
well, I'm going to share what Karen said, and I'm going to ask Karen to come over here and chime in because she's going to be turning with thoughts. I jotted down a couple of quick things. First of all, Karen said years ago, like we've been friends for this will be 26 years this summer. We met the year we moved to Georgia, and she said the single most important decision you make is your partner.
Your life partner.
Your life part, they can pull the plug on you one day. I never thought about that, right? And then one of my mother's friends, and Karen and I were just talking about this yesterday, so that's why I know she's going to have some thoughts. One of my mother's friends said, I want to say this was like to 15, 20 years ago. She said, the first time you marry so you can have cute children, the second marriage is for love. Okay. This is one of my aunties, okay? And she was in her late 60s, 70s when she said that. She's like, your first marriage is so your kids can be cute. After that, honey, just marry for love. So that's me. I'm a married for love. Y'all might be like, okay, he doesn't look like much, but he will be
Yeah.
carrying the bags. He will
Yeah.
be paying some bills, he'll be like, whatever, give her what she wants. And so that you'll
Mhm.
know, oh, that's why she's there.
Mhm.
And then well, I'm gonna save this other comment. I'm gonna save this for a little bit later. But Karen and I were talking about why my perspective was also sharing knowing your strengths and weaknesses. We spend people spend so much time focusing on attraction. Attraction is important, yes, but we're so obsessed with that part that we miss some critical things. What are my strengths? And what are my weaknesses? Huge
And
example. If
right,
I'm a spender, I don't need to be with
yeah,
another spender. We ain't never gonna have a damn thing.
right.
He needs to be more fiscally conservative. Like people don't because but you can't do that unless what you just said. If I'm not self-aware of what my weaknesses or gaps are, let's call them gaps instead of using the word
Mhm.
weakness. If I don't know what my gaps are or I'm ignoring it, I don't want to acknowledge I'm not the best at saving. I
Mhm.
can't acknowledge that, then I'm not going to seek a partner who will help me in that area. I'm going to seek somebody who will allow me to spend as much as I want.
Mhm.
I don't want to be checked.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then what does that equal? That's going to equal constant abrasion and conflict in a relationship versus he's a saver, I'm a spender. But we have conversations around, honey, don't, how can he help me but not control me or something.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think also a knowledge of truly what type of person do you need in terms of just who you are and how you live your lifestyle. If you are an outgoing person that likes to get out and do things, like for example, you are a person who you want to get out in the outdoors and go out and do something. You can't be with a dude who's happy with just sitting home. And if you're that dude that's happy with, listen, I just want to go to work each day. I want to come home. I want my wife to, love on me. I want a nice, us to have a nice dinner. Maybe we can do a couple of things on the weekend, but for the most part, I just want to be at home, with my wife. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to find a person who's cool with that. So again, you've got to know yourself. If you have certain emotional needs where you have a high need for attention, there's nothing wrong with that, but you need a person who is able to give you that kind of attention. You can't be with somebody, I mean, you just can't be with somebody who doesn't meet that need. And so, go ahead.
But I think that, and that's why I think that we could talk about this 4 weeks in a row. There's some of this information that's constantly shared with us, but it's still hard for us to accept. We talked about this before. When men look for women in general, if
Mm-hmm.
I doubt a man is watching, but he could comment. This is a strong opinion of mine, though. They look for a woman that needs minimal change in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they'll leave some women alone. Men don't want to pick
Mm-hmm.
somebody that they then need to
Mm-hmm.
tweak. That's not how they're made. A woman will take a man who's 70%, maybe 80, and then we spend all our time bitching and nagging about the 20 to 30% that's not as we would prefer, instead of saying, this is who he is, and accept it and either leave him or or learn to deal with it. But that's why the self-awareness will let me know what are my core needs. Is it a
Mm-hmm.
core need for me that someone is also outdoorsy, that will camp, that will drive the RV, etc.? I would love that. I don't know if I created three categories, if I would make it a core thing. We do need to have something strong that we have shared, that we can vibe on and all of that. I have to have that. I've dealt with too many years of incompatibility. So I don't know if I would totally, but for me, the top things are safety. I need safety and I need security. I need trust and a strong friendship. That's the bottom line on that. In terms of some of the interests and hobbies, there's some flexibility because you could be outdoorsy and then at night you creeping in somebody else's tent. You know what I'm saying? So I, I need I, I need those core needs met. Also, even with that though, if you are not outdoorsy, but you check those other boxes, I don't want to hear no shit from you when I'm going camping.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to go and buy me some outdoorsy stuff because you know that I
Mm-hmm.
need that and I like it and I was talking about it even though you're not into it. So you could still be on that end of it. But
So I want to back up, and I want to focus on at this moment, even before we get to that, I want to focus on the self-work,
Hmm.
um, which is, to me, is just, that's like foundational. You have to do that because we all at this juncture in our lives, if you're 30, 40, 50, in my case 60, you've lived life, so you have some scars from just living life. Then you have your parental shit. Like, we've got a lot of stuff that we don't unpack as adults. And I just want to encourage, it's difficult, it's challenging, but it's very freeing. And I just want to encourage anyone out there who may be watching, listening, whatever, to make the investment in yourself, because there's so many things that drive your decisions that are influenced by hurts and unmet needs, unhealed hurts and pains from whether it's childhood, watching your parents in their relationship, watching your mom or watching your dad, or relationships that you were in. And I shared, my story in terms of what were the driving forces that caused me to choose the person that I the person that I chose um, in my first marriage. And so much of that really had very little to do with who I was as a person, and more about um, parental, whether it was my father, I had a lot of father issues. And people would have been surprised about that because I had a good relationship with my dad. He was a very active part in my life, but my father was not a provider. He was a minimal provider, and he was very selfish and self-centered. So because of my lack of having provision in my life as a child, I was looking for provision in my marriage.
Mm.
That drove me a lot. My dad was not monogamous in his relationship, so um, I was looking for someone that I believed would be monogamous, and I was looking for someone that I thought would be a good father, involved in their kids' life, not just involved, but also providing for them financially. So those were the things that drove me, but those were all wound-driven needs. They
Mm.
they
Let me
weren't
write that down. Wound
so
driven needs.
so they weren't those needs were truly not about me and the person that I was and would be as a woman. And so therefore I chose the person that I chose. And the unfortunate thing about, we'll call them wound driven needs, is in time, I just, in time, if and when you do your own healing, those those needs aren't sufficient to hold you. When you start moving into who you are as a person, and you start connecting to the needs that you have as a person, your wound driven needs aren't going to be enough to sustain you. You want to live as you grow and mature in the realness of who you are. And so now you're at battle with, okay, this is who I truly am, but this is where I am and what I chose. And so now there's a dilemma. And so that was my dilemma that I found myself in. So now, as we know, I've shared, I left that marriage for those reasons. Okay. Um, and again, talk about compatibility. We were compatible in like child rearing and just kind of how we lived our life on a day-to-day basis. So that, I mean, there are some people that would work for long term, but it wasn't something that could work for me because, as I've shared, I just felt like who I was as a person was dying the longer that I stayed in that marriage. But but after that marriage, I did a lot of work. I did a lot of work in trying to understand the whys of, why I chose that. And so during my stage of singleness, I worked on, okay, you know what? I don't want to be driven by provision. And so that was important for me to become financially stable to provide for myself. So I'm not looking for someone to be a provider.
Mm.
I don't need my daughter's, getting older, she's grown, so I don't need someone to be a parent. And I was very happy in my life, so I didn't feel like I needed to be a wife. So I'm not looking for a good husband. I wasn't in the building stage of life.
Mhm.
Those things
Mhm.
weren't important to me. What was important to me was, who are you as a person, and who is the person, the type of person that you need for the long run. Like riding is like, this is the person you can ride into the sunset with. And so because I was in that space, and and I've shared this, when I got divorced, I accepted that I might never find a life partner. I was okay with that. I'd rather be, at peace with myself and single than be with somebody and be miserable. But I remember, I shared this. I said to the Lord out loud, I'm like, Lord, I want an amazing man. If I'm going to have a man in my life, I want an amazing man. And as I am talking to you, I didn't audibly hear it, but we all have our own ways that the Lord speaks to us. And the Lord was said, well, you need to be an amazing woman because that's what he deserves.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I guess I got a lot of work to do, and that's when I went into therapy, because I knew I needed to be know that I was free and clear of all of the things that drove me to make the decision the way I made it the first time. And I needed to be clear as to who I am and what's important to me, so I can make the right decision moving forward and be ready for that person when they came into my life. And then, I wasn't looking, but that's when the person who, my husband came, into my life, and he basically exceeded, all he exceeded what I wanted and what I had asked for. So, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm crazy, I'm crazy, crazy happy, crazy in love, crazy fulfilled in my life, and I'm just in such a great place, and I'm very, very grateful, very, very grateful for that. But it did, it came from work. It came from work.
Mm. Mm. That was so good. Karen, you want to chime in here yet?
Come on,
So
Karen.
heavy.
It's heavy.
So heavy.
You want me to give you a minute?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very heavy. It's true.
This is my hot flash spray. I'm gonna lighten us up for a second by spraying my herbal hot flash spray on the back of my head before it comes out.
Hey, Karen.
Hi,
Hi.
dear. How are
Oh my,
you?
hey, beautiful. Look at
How are
you.
you? How are
You have
you? How
not
are you?
aged at all. Look at you.
Oh,
I love
you're
the
so
braids
kind.
too.
Thank you.
Oh my
This is
fellow nurse sister.
Right. You know how many nurse friends I have? I'm just, I don't know how it happened, but you know what I would like to believe, and I don't mean this to sound as mushy as it might end up sounding, but because I don't know why I said that, and I suddenly got a little emotional, but I have suffered strong from just a lack of nurturing, like my
Mm.
entire childhood life. I was telling Karen, I joke about it now. It doesn't make me super sad because it's all I know. But like the women in my family were not maternal, not nurturing. And I had a conversation with a girlfriend the other day about, she was telling me about how I've struggled so much with just giving hugs and things like that when my daughter was little. And I didn't grow up around women who did that. And so I almost wonder if I attracted all these nurse friends for the caregiving that I never got.
Aw.
Like internally, I didn't know that, but they
Those are
are.
kind.
I do. No, I have so many. You guys, both of you, then my god sister. I mean, I could go on and on. When I thought about it once, I was like, wow. I think it was during COVID or something like that. I realized that I had a lot of friends who were in that medical field. But Karen, I don't want to go into my notes if you have something burning that on your heart that you want to share.
this is such a deep subject. and it can just change the trajectory of your entire life.
Mhm.
And only when you really know who you are, and that's a lot of work, and that typically doesn't happen in your 20s, where you really know, what do I like? What, because I always second guessed what I liked.
Mhm.
I would like it, even with shopping. I saw it, I liked it. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Let me see if I can find something better. Oh, this costs too much. And then do all of that scenario and then double back and get it anyway. Because that's truly what I liked.
Okay.
And so as I became older, I realized I like what I like.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't need to justify it. I know what I need. I know what I want. I know how I want to be treated. I know what feels good and what doesn't. And
Mhm.
I think that's work and
Mhm.
self-awareness
Mhm.
and really just getting to know who you are.
Can I ask you
And
a question? Did you ever explore what was it that made you second guess yourself? Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
You're gonna have
really
to sit with
honestly,
that.
I don't know. I don't second guess myself anymore.
Mhm.
So I don't know what the roots
Okay.
of that
Mhm.
possibly
What made you outgrow that?
experience.
Okay. What do you mean?
Experience in terms of I saw me go in that circle so many times and still go back to what I wanted.
Mm.
So why do all of that? Just
Mm.
go for what you want.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So there was a point in your life where you had that epiphany that you realized, you know what? I'm always going back to the thing I picked the first time. Why am I
Anyway,
spending this energy in doing this when I'm going to just come back?
exactly.
So
To it
whatever
anyway.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know what, Charlene? I just want to add in here that I believe that we are taught not to trust ourselves.
Mm,
I think that most of the mistakes I've made in my life, it's because I did not trust myself. And then what happens is once I made the so-called biggest mistake and became a single mom, that reinforced you don't know what you're doing. And
mm,
so then when people would say to me, which I did have someone, a family member say to me, you don't know what you're doing. If you did, you would have a husband already when I
mm,
was in my 20s. And so therefore I you need to run your decisions by me. These were literal words said by this person. Don't
mm,
talk to him without talking to me first. Basically filter your whole relationship through
mm,
me right now. This early this dating experience I had, because you can't be trusted.
mm,
And because of this shame I had around this mistake, which was not a mistake, children are a blessing and a gift from the Lord,
mhm,
okay?
mhm,
But because of the shame I had, as soon as they said that, I made an agreement with myself. They're right. I don't know what I'm doing.
mm,
And that is what led to every relationship decision that I made after that was I don't know what I'm doing. So if other people think it's a good idea, it's a good idea. And I didn't get free from this until the divorce, because even at coming out of that, this is the pattern I noticed in myself. If I was going to make what I considered to be a major decision, I got to call at least 5 people who I think are doing life better
mm,
than me. If
mm,
Karen agrees, if Charlena says yes, if this person says that this is a good idea, if I get 3, 4 out of 5, I'm going with it. And what I was also doing, which my girlfriend Yolanda called me out on this, she said, Cara, you don't realize that when you have your mind set around something, you're very convincing. It sounds rock solid. And so she said, you're then you turn around and get mad and say, why didn't you tell me this was a crazy thing to do? And she's like, well,
mm.
you sold it really well. I thought you knew what you were doing. And so, but my point is coming out of that and realizing, oh, that's approval addiction. I need these people
Mm,
to co-sign because I don't trust myself. And so now I don't do that anymore. I just
mhm,
say, Holy Spirit, show me what I need to see.
mhm,
And I wait to hear that clarity. And then that way, when I do face, like when you and me and Natalie were on the video chat before, I told y'all I was camping in the woods the first time. You should have seen their faces because we were on video chat. They were like, what? And Charlene was like, looked like, that's crazy. And Charlene said, okay. She went into mom mode immediately. Make sure that we need a name and a phone number of someone that you're with. What type of things will you have? She was nervous, but she still came back with the mommying. But the thing is, because I was locked in, I was good to go. That same conversation 5 years ago, I would have
Mhm.
panicked and backed out because they know things I don't know. I'm stupid. I don't do the right things, and I wouldn't have done it. And when and the mindset that you have is so critical around anything. Now, we're going to get back on topic because when it comes to a partner, though, I wouldn't necessarily, while I don't need approval from my friends, if all of my friends were like,
Nah,
I
that ain't
just
it.
don't feel good about this guy for you.
Yeah.
There are times where we do need to have what one of my therapists called a trusted counsel. When I was coming out of the approval addiction, that's the key that she gave me. She
Mm-hmm.
said, you need to have a trusted counsel, people that you know love you, you know that they know you, and that they would not steer you wrong. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
anytime you're in the valley of decision, just vet it with those people, not people who are going to project their shit and what their
Mm-hmm.
opinion is. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared of that. So you shouldn't do it. Those are not the people we're talking about. People who know who you are and say, Charlena likes jumping out of helicopters. This is her decision. That's what
Mm-hmm.
she wants to do. Just because I wouldn't do it, I'm not going to tell her not to do it. So you do have to
Mm-hmm.
be mindful of who's in that group. But that made a huge difference for me. And when it comes to choosing a partner, it should never be a situation where everybody can't stand this person. That there's something in you. There's
Oh,
something
yeah, yeah.
going on.
I knew I had always said that if I ever met a dude and like my family wasn't feeling him, you gotta go because I knew so you have to know who the people are in your circle that you are embracing their opinion. Like I knew my family members like people my friends, my circle, my friends, my family, they're naturally embracing people, right? So if they aren't embracing you, there's a
There's
reason,
something
there's
there.
something. Now to get a little more personal, Cara and I went through that in our relationship. There was someone that I was dating and she was not feeling him at all. But I think what was challenging there is you weren't able to sit, have the conversation with me. I think that if you had been able to say, Charlena, this is why I respond to him the way that I do, because I know you this way. I believe this is the type you need these things in your partner. I don't see him as being that way. And I just want what is best for you. And I don't know if from what I am seeing now, maybe there's something different that you're getting or seeing, when it's just the two of you, but as someone who knows you and loves you, I believe that you need this. I don't see him as being that person. Your choice is your choice, but this is why I have the reservation that I have.
But
And
did I say anything to you though about him?
not until we reconnected.
Well, the thing is, and I might do it a bit differently, but you weren't getting married, okay? So
Yeah.
my thing is also I mind my business a hell of a lot more than I
Mhm.
used to, and that started
Mhm.
even back then. I felt that you would figure it out, and
Mhm.
that's the other thing to consider when you're thinking about your friends and some partnerships and stuff they're in. You can plant little seeds or ask
Mhm.
questions that may cause the other person to think, like I might have said to you, hey, is this how you want to be treated? Are you being
Mhm.
loved in the way that you want to be loved? How's it
Mhm.
going? Without me
Mhm.
telling you what to do. That
Right.
just doesn't work with
Right.
anybody. I just felt that Charlena needs someone who is going to be more catering, honestly, and
Mhm.
and also understanding of her unique personality and unique characteristics and persnickety ways.
Mhm.
You can't be with someone who's irritated by the
Mhm.
fact that you want that vase at a 90-degree
Mhm.
angle. Like
Mhm.
it's not gonna work. And I knew that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we all want when
And
I,
right. We
for
want
our friends.
so yeah, we want that. And I do appreciate, we're going off topic, but I do appreciate we talk about the counsel of others around us and people that we know that love us and care about us. I do appreciate that. At least you were able to see. And this is the positive thing about where you were and how you felt. It wasn't based on your own, I just don't like him. It wasn't based
Yeah.
on
I wasn't
envy. It was
projecting anything.
truly, no, it was truly based on your wanting the best for me. It was based on myself, my
It was
self-interest.
her personality. It was
It
based
was
on
your,
your personality.
right.
And I also knew that the level of treatment that you were used to, like even though
Hmm.
that marriage didn't work, you had someone who accepted you in a certain way, and I
Hmm.
wasn't seeing that from the same person. But
Hmm.
what did I say when she met Lewis? Oops, I didn't mean to say his name. When she met her husband, okay, I knew, and this has happened numerous times with friends of mine, from even friends where I haven't met the guy in person, they will talk about him, and I just get this feeling, and I know that's their person, and it has never failed me. Now I don't lean into that deep. Like if they're dating someone and I don't get that feeling, I say, "Oh, this isn't it." But I just can sense it, and I knew from the moment we started talking about him on the phone, and then when
Hmm.
I met him at person
At
in
the
Charlena's
housewarming.
home, she had a
Yeah.
housewarming, and I
Yeah.
saw how he conducted himself with everyone. I also saw how he looked at her. Listen to me. Now, I can't guarantee this is still true 20, 30 years in, but my opinion is that a man, and I think it's because men are visual, you can tell a lot by how he looks at a woman. I have seen this time and again. And women, if you're early dating somebody and he's not looking at you a lot, and really giving you that intentional connection, he's probably not into you. I just think this is how they are. And so I noticed that everything she was doing around her home and things or whatever, his eyes were following her. Not in a lustful way, but more so like just connection.
Admiration.
Yeah, admiration and connection. And I noticed it last summer. I went to Denver and visited my birthday twin. A short story. Now she's been with her partner like 17 years, but I'd never been around them in person together. And he was like a hawk. Every time she was talking, he was looking at her.
Hmm.
He was, even if she wasn't talking to him, she's just talking at the table. He would just be looking at her. And then we're at
Hmm.
dinner and he's looking at her. And I told her when we were together privately, I said, Janelle, Matt stares at you constantly. And she said, "Really?" I didn't even realize that. And I said, "Girl, he is so in love with you." And so, and there, she always told me that Matt never wanted to get married and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 blah. And I asked him while I was there, I said, "Well, Janelle told me that, you guys aren't interested in getting married." He was like, "Oh, I would marry Janelle." He said, "Janelle doesn't want to get married." Like he put it on her. How about they went out and got married Valentine's Day of this year?
Wow.
Like on Tuesday, they said, "Let's get married on Friday. We're getting older for the legal reasons, whatever." And they went out,
Hmm.
they created a wonderful little wedding weekend for themselves and just told everybody on Facebook. It was the cutest thing. But anyway, my point is that to me is a key sign. How interested is someone in you as a person? And I feel like too many women in particular, I am horrible at this, and somebody just cautioned me on this with a guy that I met, and it didn't. There's nothing going on. But my point is, I go right into the story, and she also warned me, my girlfriend Yolanda, you love deeds and acts of service. Karen is a sucker in the same way that she was like, you need to be careful because when someone shows up doing those things, you're in love. Bring out the chariot. Listen, my new test. When you come over my house, I'm gonna have some trash ready to go. Something is gonna be a little bit twisted and broken, baby. If you see this trash and
Yeah.
don't offer to take it,
Yeah.
if you see this broken thing and you don't care, you're not doing you'll
Yeah.
never hear from
Yeah.
me again.
Yeah.
And I'm standing on that
Yeah.
one, but I am gonna be more cautious because I'll be like, Karen, we're getting married. I tell the story, and women get into the story, and we stop looking at our what we should have as some sort of checklist around compatibility and interest because you don't want a man who's not 1,000 10 toes down for you. That's nasty work. You don't want to
Mhm.
deal with that.
Mhm. just to
Mm-mm.
have somebody.
Just so you can have somebody. No,
Mhm.
like you said, you knew from the beginning. You were like, I may end up without a partner. You told me that, when I was first thinking about divorce, you were like, accept the fact that you might be alone forever, accept the fact that he may marry someone else, he may have another child with someone else. All of those things, could occur. And that has been tremendously helpful for me to have that mindset. And also, I think just being in miserable relationships for too much of my life, I have learned it's easier to be by yourself, because by yourself I can have some hope. I can walk out of this hotel today
Mhm.
and meet the man of my dreams. But if I'm locked down with somebody and miserable, baby, I'm trapped. Like there's nothing I can't do anything about
And
that.
we're trying to prevent people from getting to to being in that space.
And that's what it goes back to. I'm so glad that you left us with focus on your self work, because I think if we close this episode, that's really what we have to think about. And
Mhm.
if you are operating with too much thirst and so anxious to have somebody in your life, you got to go back to the drawing board within yourself. Why do I need this so bad? And what is it that I'm really, missing in my life? Because you can reach a level of completeness all on your own. And speaking as somebody who's never really been single, like I've had a boyfriend or somebody pretty much since I was 19. I've had very short periods of singleness. Charlena, it's not until this year that I told myself
Mhm.
I'm going to just this sounds novel, Karen, but it's not. I'm going to just do whatever I want every day. I'm not used to that. I'm so used to putting a partner before myself, having children I put before myself. That's why I'm hiking and gardening, and I'm also just exploring, like, do I even like any
See,
yeah.
and to me, there's being single, and then there's singleness, and I think the two are different. I think being single is just you don't have a partner, but
Mm,
you can still be in that mode of trying to find someone. That's the thing that drives you. But singleness is you are truly into you and living your life and creating a full life for yourself without a significant other, and
yes.
finding fulfillment doesn't mean that you aren't open to and don't desire someone in your life, but you have created a full and fulfilling life for yourself by yourself. And I think when you can be in that space, then to me, that's when you will attract a person that is in alignment with the person that you are.
Right. But and the big part of that, and the reason why one of the reasons why I've leaned into this is because how do I know what I stand for? How do I know who I am? How can I be the person how can I give someone the most authentic version of myself if I'm not really focusing on myself? And so therefore, which is what happened when
Right.
I was dating before, I didn't have my own, like, what time do I go to bed? What time do I go to sleep? No routines. I had nothing that I was like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not available on Sunday because this is what I do on Sundays. There was none of that. So I just immediately went back into contorting and conforming around someone else and what they're doing and all these things. And I think that's why that therapist I had told me to watch The Runaway Bride.
Mhm.
And she didn't tell me anything about what it was about, but she kept every session she would say, "Have you watched the movie yet?" Right?
Mhm.
And so when I finally watched it, at first I was like, why did she tell me to watch this? But then as it settled in, I was horrified because in that movie, she keeps running away at the altar. But the point is, every partner she had, well, she was asked one day, how do you like your eggs? Very simple question.
Mhm.
And she realized in that moment she had no idea.
Mhm.
Because when she was with Bob, she ate scrambled eggs because Bob liked scrambled eggs. When she was with Ted, she had eggs over easy because Ted liked eggs over easy. And then Randy, he liked his eggs fried hard. And she never asked herself, what do I
Mhm.
like? And
Mhm.
and that's what I had done. I mean, even when I was in college, I was dating a guy named Stuart, and he was on the track team. And so so I'm not
Yeah.
embarrassed by anything. He was on the track team, and so I would go into the gym area, and while he was down there playing basketball, I would be running on the track above, but only in the part where he could see me. When I was out of his view, then I would my other college boyfriend was big into basketball, so I'm in that. I got the jersey. I was doing that. And so now
But see, that's okay. So you know how we talk about in dating, like we'll say something, the whole thing is the first the first few months you send your representative, like you're not dating
right.
the person. But if you don't really know who you are as a person, if you haven't fully developed, embraced, have knowledge of,
That's
and
right.
living that, it could be you can be year one, year two of singleness, but when you meet somebody, you're coming with your representative. You're not giving them who you truly are because you don't even know who that is yet. You don't know who it is. So
Yeah.
now you have you coming into this relationship presenting yourself to be a certain way because you don't really know who you are, right? And then you wind up having issues and conflict in the relationship because that's not really who.
Who you are. Yeah.
Or we fall in love with someone, but if we knew who they were in advance, we probably wouldn't be with them. But
Mhm.
now I'm in love, and so I'm going to make it work from here. For me, I feel like I want to know the things in the first 30 to 60 days before we fall in love. We're making an educated decision that this is the path that I want to take, because love does make you compromise a lot of things, and it's not
It
all terrible. I'm not.
does to ask questions. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to lose the person. And again, it goes
Right.
back to once you are clear as to who you are, you don't feel like you're losing the person. You're winning for yourself because you're eliminating someone who
Who
isn't in
doesn't fit.
alignment with who you really are. Ask the difficult questions. When my husband and I started dating, girl, I was asking a whole lot of questions. And to me, because I wasn't afraid, because I knew what I wanted, I asked a lot of questions. I needed to know. And fortunately, I know he asked a lot of questions too, but you cannot be afraid to do that because you're positioning yourself to have what it is that you truly want and you truly need. So many times we're afraid, well, if I show him this or if I say that, maybe it'll scare him or maybe it'll scare her. But no, I think when you're secure in who you are and what you want, you're asking the questions and you're answering the questions based on who you are and what you want because you're positioning yourself to win. And if you're not that person, you know, not to be offensive, but you can go, to the left.
To the
So,
left. To the left. Well, listen, we're gonna
mhm.
wrap this up because Karen and I have to go. We're going to brunch and we're gonna hit the road. But I feel like we may need a part two on this. And then also we need to connect, because if you're gonna be in Atlanta, maybe I will come to you and we'll do it together in
Yeah,
person.
Nice.
we
Yeah.
could do, that'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can, and I need to put that in my calendar because I just said I'd be struggling with the planning and the time management.
Yes, please do. I'm so excited about next weekend. I can't wait to be. And you
Yeah.
talk about the weather being great at 60. I'm like, ooh, I already packed away the winter clothes. Now I gotta.
Well, you know what though? I think we're gonna get a warm up because it's usually not this cold in this late in April. I think
Girl, we
yeah,
had
well the
70.
high today in Atlanta is 71. So
Yeah,
I
we had.
feel like we're gonna be, yeah, oh my gosh, Monday is 82. It's gonna be,
Okay.
yeah, it's gonna be in the 80s next weekend according to this. A little cloudy, but in the 80s.
For next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
so far. But you know how this weather
Yeah,
is these
it
days. You
changes
gotta you
day by
gotta
day.
check it like Wednesday. Take it before you come. But I think this is gonna be some great weather. This is
Where are you guys going to eat?
we're in Huntsville, so this is not Atlanta. Okay,
I
so calm
know.
down. I look
We'll
like
figure it
look,
out.
I look like I'm going to the gym. Karen is cute. I wasn't planning on the brunch, so I wore these Crocs all weekend. I didn't even bring another pair of shoes. So, but they have a place in mind. And listen, I think my daughter and like this is a great place to end it, really, because they're a young couple. But I also wanted my daughter's godmother to see her partner so she would worry less, because she hadn't met him before and they've been together a couple years. We had all this crisis after the family kind of collapsed. And so she's been able to meet him. He's a treasure and a joy. I love how he treats my daughter, and we pulled her away with us which you, because they're together a lot, but you would have loved this, Auntie. We brought her back to the hotel room with us,
Just
and
we could talk.
just so we could
Yeah.
talk without him around. And I feel like we did a great job. Like, we weren't super invasive. She's living on her own now, so we
Yeah.
respected that her
Yeah.
independence. But we
Yeah.
also planted some light seeds of things that she should consider and asked her about their plans. She told me about, some of the plans that they have, and I feel like they're a very good match. And she hasn't even really started therapy yet, but it feels like she's learned some things and she knows what she doesn't want. And she picked someone based on that. But the other reason why I want to have a part two is around what you said about your parents and everything. And I was thinking about her and what you said about your dad and some of my choices, and how much was like, I don't want to marry a man like my father in certain ways. And I just wonder if sometimes we are all, like you've said about someone else, trying to course correct something from our parents' marriage and our choice, and don't not even always aware of it on a conscious level. There's just a lot there. When you think about your parents and their dynamic, and then you go out here and start dating, we're repeating some things, even though we don't.
Intentionally
no
want
clue.
to.
We have no clue that that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that she needs to be aware of that. I don't know if you were in the car with me. No, when she was here. So she had this boyfriend when she was at 16. He was the cutest thing. And I have the cutest picture of them. They went to prom together and everything.
Cute.
Yes. And she told us just yesterday that he told her that when they were on the phone, he used to overhear the household stuff. And one of the reasons why they split up is because he said it sounded too much like his home and his parents' marriage, and he did not want to be. He did not want to in that situation. He didn't want to repeat anything like that. He was not a fan of anything that he heard happening in the background, and he didn't like her father at all. She explained a lot of things about the first time I met him and why he seemed rude and all that. And that was like 7 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and I never knew that. So I thought, wow, because I always told my daughters, you're not coming from the most stable environment. The ideal situation for you is a partner who did come from a good family. Not that you're bringing the poison, but it will help to balance things. But and her current guy, his family situation is not all that great, but is so determined to be different. He's doing things different. He's well spoken. He's got a great plan.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, so back to what Karen has shared with you, the most significant decision that you're going to make in your life, the most life impacting decision, is the person that you marry. It's so far reaching beyond, I love you, we love each other,
Oh yeah.
let's
Stop
be
it.
married.
Stop it. Stop rushing it.
Yeah.
And listen, you can love someone and still break up with them. I just did that. Love him every day. Talk all the time. But it wasn't a good long-term match. And that is a very hard thing to do,
Mhm.
especially when there's been no trauma or whatever. But we have to start looking at things logically, because once you take the story away and the music stops playing, you're there together 24/7.
And let me add to this.
Locked into a contract.
Yeah, and it's not just the person you marry, it's the person who you choose to make a baby with as well.
Oh gosh, let's not get started on that. That's part 3 now, Charlene. We can't go in.
So
We
whether
can't
you're
go
married
there.
or not,
But see, and that's the beauty of, like you said, you're choosing somebody. The person I was with, if there were other things that were in play, I would have been with him and loved him to life. But I don't know that I would have wanted this to be the person I would have chosen to have a family with, even though the person I did choose was no better. But I'm saying, I didn't mean that as a joke, Karen. But no, I don't know that the co-parenting adds a whole nother level of stress, and people just need to think about that
co-parenting is
differently.
the traits that they have that they're going to instill in your
The
child.
DNA.
It's just, that's not whether it's DNA or just
My
who
daddy used to say, "Watch that DNA." You need
So
to watch
that's
it.
another
He would point to
girl.
other people in the church and tell me that, don't get involved with that DNA.
Oh my gosh, life is just so deep. So
It
deep.
is. But
So
this spray is not working. It's called Flame Out. Okay. Listen, we're gonna go, Charlena. Here, we're
Girl, you better get
devolving
them
very quickly
fillets.
over here.
Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
wait.
So,
We gotta do our, well, hold it.
oh yes, we got to do our breath work. Gosh, I'm
Yes.
so hot.
Great.
Okay, listen. So we're gonna close out with our breath work. And while we're doing that, I just want to ask all of us really to just think about, what are some things within us that we still need to be, or actually, my prayer, my silent prayer, is that the Holy Spirit reveal to us what are some things within us that we still need to take a look at. Okay. Approach with curiosity. There's no shame. There's no judgment in self evaluation. The world is shaming you enough. No one should be shaming themselves. You haven't done anything wrong, but you have learned a lot. I free myself every day. I've made no mistakes, but I've learned a lot of lessons. And so you can think about the lessons right now. You can think about the blessings. During your breath, you can think about gratitude, or you can ask that if there's anything I need to see, let it be revealed to me in this moment. Okay. So settle in. Make sure that your spine is erect. Spine is erect, almost as if there's a string coming and pulling you upward. Just relax your hands in your lap. Feet are flat on the floor. And just find your breath and relax. We're only doing one breath, but I still want it to be meaningful. So, any distractions or things in your mind, listen, it's still going to be there when we're done. Just be with us right now in this moment and allow your body to relax. No one needs anything from you. This moment is for you. And as you're relaxing your body, preparing for this one breath, your belly is relaxed, your shoulders, your tongue and your mouth. Just let it go. Let your face just drop. Keep that spine erect. We're going to inhale through the nose for 4. We're going to hold for 4. And then we're going to release, exhale through your mouth. And I'm going to do the breath with you so I won't be counting. And inhale. Hold it. And exhale through your mouth. And just give yourself a minute. Open your eyelids and come back to the space. Love you
Yeah.
lots. We love
Bye.
you lots.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next weekend.
See you next weekend.
Okay, bye.